Regalion Part 23, A Deal with the Devil. Hello everyone, and welcome back once again to Cozy Reads. I hope you've all been keeping well. Thank you for joining me again for another story. In today's story, we'll carry on with the tale of Regalion. Leaving Max and Co for a time, we take a look at Zazal and see the dressing down he receives for the failed mission, giving us another further insight into how the Reapers operate. But it seems that there are some people who have their own machinations as to how the Reapers should operate, and they're about to seek out Zazal. Whichever way you put it, you failed. The target was able to get away. Even with your competent skill and your elite team, you were unable to eliminate your opponent, and you were unable to apprehend the target. You also had your arm taken by the enemy, forcing us to replace it. And you still have the audacity to claim that the situation was unfair. It is not your job to complain. It is your job to produce results and adapt to unfair situations. Had you instead focused your efforts on the Godforsaken and on escaping, or better yet, had you retreated and observed your enemy while contacting for support, a new Reaper Corps could have been dispatched to assist in capturing the target. Pride does not play a role in your work. Your only objective is fulfilling the mission. Your quarrel with the individual that used the mysterious blade was not one that should have jeopardized the mission. How would you have captured the target if you had won? There would still have been enemies to contend with, including the target. But it is not all bad. We now know that the Godforsaken is potentially with the individuals who attacked you, and these individuals appear to be a man and a woman. The woman, while you did not get much information on her, the man sounds interesting. He was able to match your skill, which means he must be specially trained. Maybe by us, which would make him a runaway Reaper. And now, a person of interest. And his blade seems very intriguing as well. Enough so that we could use it for our own agendas. However, with the transgressions that transpired, we cannot simply let this pass. This is why we are demoting you from an elite Reaper on a temporary basis. Your team will be reassigned, and you will have to reattend training until we are satisfied that you understand the value of the work you are given. For today, you are to report back to your room and consolidate what you have been told. You'll be visited by a doctor in due course who will ensure that you're recovering accordingly. Remember, you are essentially decommissioned until further notice, so do not rattle the cages of our organization. As Zazal walked through the corridors of the Reaper Corps, these words rang through his head. The amount of anger and rage that was building in him was almost palpable. His rage was so intense that anyone who passed him could feel his anger and rage emanating, and he was given a wide berth. As he approached his room, he swung open the door, and as he closed it, his rage built to a boiling point, and he punched the wall next to the door, almost breaking his knuckles and denting the wall. Ah! This is so unfair. I'm decommissioned? Me? Zazal? Those blowhards don't know what they're talking about. They can easily say whatever they want sitting pretty and safe in their ward buildings, whereas us, the true boots on the ground, are forced to endure, even going so far as having our arms sliced off, and yet I'm the one in the wrong. I'm being reprimanded. It's all because of that guy, him, and that girl. They intervened and ruined the mission, and the audacity to keep me alive when I demanded he kills me, to join the hordes of my ancestors, to die in battle and go down as a hero. That monster couldn't even give me a good death. All high and mighty on his damned high horse. I swear if I see him again, I'll make sure to slice off his arms, shove them where the sun doesn't shine, and beat him to death with them. And just when he's on the brink of death and begging me to kill him, I'll make sure to give him a slow death. I'll make sure he lays there and slowly feels his own body give out. Then I'll go after her and anyone else that stands in my way. As Zazal ranted to himself, he heard a knock at the door. He was still on edge and immediately grabbed his dagger and went to the door to check. Through the peephole he could see two Reapers standing outside his room, a man and a woman, Reapers who seemed familiar to Zazal. However, his rage clouded his perception. He was still heated until the woman spoke. There was nothing special about her voice, aside from her seeming far too peppy for Zazal. Her voice annoyed him. It reminded him of a Reaper he once knew. She had a peppy personality, and her voice used to grate on him as well. She was so joyous and positive it annoyed him, because as a Reaper he had seen and done terrible things. He He became a Reaper due to his parents dying in a demon attack, and him being saved by a Reaper. From there he was raised and trained, rising through the ranks and becoming an elite, hating Daemon and wanting to crush whichever Daemon he could find. It was what she said. Her words seemingly hit home. Maybe it was the unashamed way she talked about what she did. Zazal? Zazal, is it you? Are you in your room? Me and my partner here have a proposition for you. Now, we know that you've been put through the ringer, essentially being decommissioned from active duty and thrown to the curb. And while you may have to train to get back into active duty, they will never let you back into the same line of work, which sucks. As an elite, you should not be rotting in your room. You should be out there hunting Daemon. If I'm wrong, then my apologies and we will leave. However, if I'm right, then you may want to hear us out. We have seen this happen before. A Reaper messing up, whether elite or not, and if the higher-ups do not need you, then you are thrown out of the inner circle, essentially kicked to the curb. With that in mind, could you open your door so I and my partner may discuss this with you? The voice seemed confident, and explained things that could get the two individuals into immense trouble. Why sell this to someone who they potentially didn't know? Zazal was now curious, but also wary. He needed to know if he could trust them, or at least hear them out. And why tell me all this? You've done your homework, but telling me this may get you two reported. What do you gain from all this? Zazal asked. Simple. We know that you will not report us, as you are most likely already angry with the higher-ups. And that is what we want to talk to you about. How we can take the fight to the higher-ups, the voice explained. This sparked major interest in Zazal. It was like they were reading his mind. He thought on it for a moment, questioning himself whether it was right to let them in. Eventually, he thought screw it. To hell with retraining, and essentially reprogramming himself. They are right, the higher-ups need to be replaced. Successful leadership calls for new blood, people who will see the organization differently and take it to new levels, as well as hunt down the Daemon threat. Zazal thought he might as well hear them out, so he lowered his weapon and opened the door. There stood a man and a woman. The woman was shorter than Zazal. She had pale skin and dark auburn hair, with the showings of a tattoo on her neck. She was slender and objectively attractive, wearing a typical Elite Reaper uniform, which consisted of a blue and black almost skin-tight suit that could adapt to weather and environmental changes. A jacket with similar colorings was made from a tight mesh that could take a lot of blunt and physical damage, as well as heeled boots that were typical of female Reapers. The uniform did not have much in way of intricate designs, as the uniform was more for functionality rather than aesthetic, but her arm had a red hue to it that was unique to her uniform. He could tell that she had modified the colour a bit, maybe to add more character to her outfit. Aside from this, she had a chest plate attached to her uniform with an insignia known as the Rising Threat. It depicted a so-called unyielding member, an apparent founding father standing over a defeated Daemon with a sword plunging into it. It was supposed to signify inspiration, and it shows the elitism of the Reaper, as lesser Reapers would either not have a chest plate, as it was supposed to be earned, or they would have a chest plate with an insignia of a Reaper squaring off against a Daemon, depending on their rank. The chest plates were made from a powerful titanium type of metal, with decorations around it. Usually these would be horns or teeth that were acquired from slaying Daemon. She had a bubbly personality, and Zazal could tell that her voice matched her disposition. He did recognize her, and it irritated him even more that this person standing in front of him was so much like the other girl, right down to how bubbly she was. When that girl disappeared, he had not known much about her. Now this woman is here, someone so similar to her but yet of a much higher rank than the girl who disappeared. That much he was sure of. This person standing before him, while he had never met her before, he knew of her. Yes, it was all coming back to him. She was a Reaper on everyone's tongues. The annoying woman with a sunny personality who could cut through Daemon as if they were made of paper. If she wasn't so annoyingly positive, he may have more respect for her, but he could not deny that he still had some semblance of respect for her skill. He heard that in the field, her personality and disposition can flip, and she could become a truly formidable opponent. Even if she annoyed him, there was no denying that she would be a valuable ally to have in the fight against the higher-ups. Standing next to her was a guy that Zazal knew all too well. His name was Regalion. He was tall, taller than Zazal, with a slim, almost muscular build. He had dark hair that was short on one side and shaved on the other. His hair flopped over on the unshaven side and he had a tanned complexion. His uniform was also common among elite males. However, while the girl's uniform was more fit for field work, his uniform was more office-like, as he wore smart blue trousers, a white shirt and a blue jacket with black trimmings around the collar. Instead of a breastplate, he had a chain that went around his neck with an attachment that depicted the same imagery as the girl's chest plate. Revenant was the talk of the Reaper Corps due to how quickly he had risen the ranks. The guy seemed to have come from almost nowhere and taken the Reaper Corps by storm. He never seemed to do any wrong in his work, and he was always professional. He was charismatic and subjectively attractive. He was a talk on many people's lips and attracted the attention of men and women. Even Zazal recognized his attractiveness. However, Zazal had no time to worry about all that. He had other concerns to address. "Thank you for inviting us in and giving us the time of day. We know that with everything that you have been through, it is a very difficult time for you right now. But we want you to know that we understand your plight and that we are here to assist you in what comes next," Revenant said as he kept his gaze and attention with Zazal while giving a warm smile. Zazal couldn't lie to himself. Revenant spoke well, very well. They had been on missions together, and while people have not always been Zazal's thing, he enjoyed his time with Revenant. Being able to talk for a long time about life, relationships, the Reaper Corps, etc., Zazal now started to realize that Revenant was sowing the seeds in these conversations. "I know you are most likely on edge. However, I must say, it is good to see you again, comrade. I won't lie, I miss the conversations we used to have on our missions," Revenant added. "Ooh, was conversation all you had while on your missions?" the girl said with a big smile on her face. "Blythe, now is not the time. We're here to talk business, to console our teammate, and to look to the future of the Reaper Corps, and to set it back on its true path," Revenant responded while giving Blythe a sharp look. Zazal eased up a bit upon hearing this before adding, "So, let's get down to it then. I'm sure you're not here to talk about old memories or to chat like we're old friends. What is it you have in mind, and where do I fit in?" Revenant smiled. "You're right. We should get down to brass tacks. We were able to gather a bit of information about the individual you encountered. We took an interest in him due to the weapon that was described. We have reason to believe that he might be a former Reaper. However, we need you to go over your encounter with him. If he is a former Reaper, then finding him and that weapon will be paramount to assisting in our takeover. We also need to make it our utmost mission to find the Godforsaken and use their power to assist us," Revenant explained. So you need me to go over my encounter with that bastard? Yeah, no worries. I can do that if it helps in me killing him. To rip him limb from limb and have him suffer the same pain he caused me. That's my main goal right now. And if you can help me in achieving that, then I'm in," Zazal replied. "Ooh, isn't this getting exciting? We're like our own little team," Blythe added. But is this one always going to be so peppy? It's sickening and annoying," Zazal remarked. With this comment, Blythe's disposition changed, and she dashed forward, knife in hand. Zazal had barely a second to defend himself, but she was already on him. "Just because I'm peppy doesn't mean I won't cut out your tongue," Blythe sneered. "Oh, the cat has claws. Meow," Zazal replied. "Oh, I'll show you claws. I'll show you my steel little kitty claws," Blythe hissed. "Alright, that's enough. He'll struggle to tell us what's happened if he doesn't have a tongue," Revenant added to defuse the situation. Blythe and Zazal stared down each other for a little longer before Blythe backed off. "Sorry, seems I got a bit carried away there," Blythe said back to her cheery disposition. Zazal didn't trust her mood changes, but he needed her help. "Fine, I'll tell you what happened, but you might want to pull up a seat. This is going to be a long one," Zazal said before taking a seat himself. As Zazal told his story, Blythe couldn't help but wonder about the effectiveness of Zazal being a host. He had the murderous intent that she loved, and he was violent and obsessed, ticking all the boxes. If she could possess him, then she could have all of her favourite homicidal psychopaths in one place. And that brings chapter 23 of this story to an end. I hope you have all been enjoying the series so far. With Zazal growing disdain and hatred towards the Reaper higher-ups, it seems that Revenant and Blythe can use this to their advantage. However, as with all Reapers, what ulterior motives do Revenant and Blythe have? And can they be trusted? Especially because it seems that Blythe talks about possession. Possession of who and of what? Only time will tell. Zazal isn't stupid either, and he'll have his own plans for these two. We'll have to see if they can all truly work together. But until then, I hope you've all sufficiently warmed up, and that this story has brought you some level of comfort. I wish you safe travels on the journey of life, and feel free to come back again whenever you need a new story to warm your day.